Welcome to the Center Mid Philosopher. This episode is brought to you by Augustus Royale Fashion. Life's not black and white, it's gray, and gray is beautiful. Check out the brand below in the link. All right, folks, got a super awesome guest with us today, one of our tribe, one of our famous guys from the Piedmont Triad area, Clyde Simms, legend. DC United, New England Revolution, full U.S. men's national team legend. But I always remember him from Southwest High School, ECU days, and forever and ever. But really, I remember him as the Jamestown Jammers days. And I'm sure you probably don't remember me at all, but we squared up against one another a couple times back in the day. I was a year ahead of you on those old school Greensboro Bucks teams.
Yeah, no, I definitely do.
And then became the Greensboro Soccer Club, but was really good. Scott Dunnigan is one of my best buddies, and we your ears must have been burning. We had Hesmer on. And we were singing your praises quite a bit, and actually hang out with Sam Boston quite a bit in town. And
nice.
And for the listeners and viewers, it's funny, you're the second famous Jamestown Jammer we've had on, but those teams y'all were nasty back in the day. And
we lucked out.
Yeah, y'all had a good squad. But yeah, I know. I mean, so for everyone that don't know Clyde super well, just an unbelievably killer career, and like real hero of mine and all of us that were fortunate to share the field with you back in those days. And on behalf of all those that have been able to say somewhere in a bar somewhere, hey, I used to play with that guy. So on behalf of all of us, thank you for your incredible career. But yours is one of just real heroism and success and kind of that of an underdog. I mean, I don't want to editorialize too much, but you kind of got your start with the Richmond Kickers here, and then got caught up into the full men's national team and really caught everyone's attention. And DC United said, hey, man, we need you an hour and a half down the road ASAP, and went on to have an incredible 7-year career there, and then spent some time in New England Revolution. But Clyde, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Zach. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Wanted to just right off the top, like, how much are you still playing it all these days for fun, or how much soccer are you watching these days? And if so, what do you watch?
Yeah, so I after I retired, I started a business.
Mm-hmm.
That's been taking a lot of my free time. So, but I'm still in the game. I coach kids. I do individual sessions because of my schedule. It's much easier to schedule those than be as much as I want to coach a team. The schedule wise, it's just it just doesn't work out really. But so I'm training kids probably five days a week, and it's a blast. I do radio for the Revolution,
Nice.
Revolution. So still involved with the league and the team here up in Boston, Boston area. I played out in the TST tournament.
Nice.
I pulled a muscle the first 5 minutes, and
Sure.
I was out. I was done for the tournament. But my job is still very physical, and I can't. I just can't really afford injuries, and I retired. One of the reasons I retired was turf toe on top of my kidney disease. So I just try to stay feeling as good as possible. As much as I want to go out and play, a lot of times I think I need to hold off a little bit longer before I get back out there.
Yeah, I ruptured a quad muscle playing 10 or so years ago, and I mean it's a brutal game if you're not fully in shape for it.
Oh yeah, you have to train for it. Absolutely.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I mean, I wonder if you could you're probably tired of telling this story, but tell the listeners and viewers a little bit more. You one of kind of defying the odds. I mean, you were kind of given that diagnosis in college, right? And then still went on to have a 10, 15 year plus professional playing career. But if you could just tell everyone a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you touched on it. Kind of a underdog story. I mean, obviously, growing up, one of the one of the I guess, everyone, once you get to a certain level, everyone was once like the guy on the team, But even on our club team, we had guys on the team. I wouldn't consider myself, one of the better players on the team. We had a very good club team, and I think that I watched different careers develop over the years, and I think I was very fortunate to be in the position I was and playing with guys that that I admired, and even though they're my age, I looked up to, and I always played a year up. I started 2 years up, and then I moved down to 1 year up, and then I stayed there all the way until my senior year in high school. And so I was playing against guys that were older, and yeah, it just kept pushing me. It kept pushing me. Even when I got recruited to go play at East Carolina, I would get letters from some big time schools, but nothing, no phone calls, nothing too serious. And the coach seemed like he really wanted me to play a big role at East Carolina, so I chose that school. And it was the perfect distance from home. It was just a good situation for me. Ended up playing all 4 years there, and we weren't very good. East Carolina doesn't have a soccer program anymore, men's soccer program anymore, and there's talks of bringing it back, but I don't see any movement there. But we weren't very good. I think the most games we won in a season was like six or seven. And so it was tough to get looks. The conference we played in was pretty good. The conference USA at the time. We played against some. We had like two or three top 25 teams in our conference, which was cool to stack up against them. And some of our non-conference games, we played against some really good teams. So we got some eyes. Most I made was like second team, all conference. Personal accolades coming through college. I got an injury, and it was nothing. A little tweak of my knee. Like the last two games of my career, I played every game in college. Last two games, I had to sit out. And at that point, my coach and I sat and we applied for the combine. No calls, no anything. Didn't get invited to the combine. But my coach really, and I majored in construction management. I thought I was, done playing soccer. I was going to go get a job in construction. My coach basically made me go to an invitational tryout with the Richmond Kickers. So I go up there. It was just over a weekend. I go up there, get a hotel room, stand by myself, and go out to the trials. Put my best foot forward. And Lee Calishaw, who's the coach at the time, pulled me to the side before the last day, and asked. He said, "If I offered you a contract, would you want to play?" And I said, "Of course, yeah. I'd love to." I still had a semester of school. My major was so small at East Carolina that there were some semesters if I didn't, it interfered with soccer practice, and so the class would be offered just one time the whole semester. So if I didn't get that semester, I had to push it to the next, and so it took me 4.5 years to graduate. So I still had have a semester left, and I told Lee, is there any way I can go back and finish? So the season was mostly during the summer. Back then it was the A League, and so it started a little bit before we were out of school, and then it ended after we went back to school. And Lee allowed me during those moments to go back and forth, which was great. It was a great situation. The contract wasn't much of anything. I think I was like $150 a month, and everything else was bonus. So if I got injured, that was all I was making. Those were the contracts back then. But it was cool. It was I knew a little bit about Richmond Kickers at the time, and going to play for that team, it was awesome. I ended up having a really good season. Ended up being a starter for the team and made all team of the week a few weeks, and it was good. And then I went back to school. I signed a 2-year contract, but I was excited to be done with school going into that second season, and was going to actually get my own place. At the time, I was just staying with my buddy's dad. The first season, I was going to get my own place with one of the teammates, and this was in the off season. And I got a call. I mean, I'll never forget. I was in a movie at a movie theater with my girlfriend at the time, and I come out of the theater, and I had like so many missed calls, messages, and some of them were from my coach in Richmond. I didn't recognize the other numbers. I call him back, his assistant coach Jesse, and he says, "Have you heard the news?" And I said, "No, no, I just got out of the movie. I have no idea what's going on." and he told me that the national team was on strike, but they had a game to play. So they had a World Cup qualifier coming up against Trinidad and Tobago. The team was on strike, so they had to get someone together to play the game, to represent the U.S. They called in A-League players because it was all MLS players and European players that would not come into camp.
Mm-hmm.
They were all in it together, but they called up a good amount of us, like 20 plus of us, and we were going to be the team that represented the U.S. against Trinidad and Tobago. And we were out of season, we were out of shape. I was one of the younger guys that ended up going into the camp, and I say I had a pretty good camp, and I was young. That was my advantage. I think I was running circles around some of the older guys that were in the off season, and so Bruce Arena was the coach at the time. The strike, we were there. We trained for about a week, and the strike ended. We were sitting at dinner, and one of the guys, his wife, called him and said they just found out the strike ended. And then, sure enough, we got calls from the coaching staff shortly after. But I got one from Mooch at the time. He was assistant coach of the national team, and he said, "Well, what do you have planned the next, a couple of weeks?" And I said, "Well, I was planning on being here at camp. I didn't have any other plans." And he asked if we'd love to keep you in for when the other guys come back. So I figured they were getting closer to that time, and the rest of the guys were in their off season as well, especially the MLS guys. And we go to a meeting the next day, and Bruce says, I know all you guys heard the news, the strikes ended. We are going, but we have an announcement. We're going to keep Clyde back, and I thought they were keeping a few of us back, and I was the only one.
Wow.
Yeah, it was wild, and all the guys were happy for me.
That's
And
awesome.
so they left, and then it was a good like day and a half where guys just started trickling in, and that day and a half, It felt like I couldn't even explain the feeling. I just like nerves, and I'm there by myself with the coaching staff, just waiting for these guys to come in, and they start coming in, one by one. Like a couple will come in and 1 hour, and then a couple of hours later, a couple other guys are coming in, and then now I'm seeing guys that I saw play in the last World Cup. Eddie Pope shows up, and Eddie went to Southwest
Yeah.
Guilford as well.
Right.
Yeah, and we didn't know each other before that. I think obviously I knew who he was, and
Of
I think
course.
his dad was still very involved with soccer in High Point, and I think Eddie had heard my name through his dad. But first time meeting, and yeah, it was all. There were some other guys my age. Clinton Dempsey was coming in,
Mm-hmm.
Mike McGee, Chad Marshall, Eddie Johnson. They were coming in, and we were all the same age, and I kind of hit it off with those guys, and it was an experience. So then, while I was in camp, it was only myself and Pablo Mastroeni were the only D mids. They were just low on defensive mids at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so Bruce came really close to taking me on the trip, which I mean, I had a really good camp. I don't know what happened. I don't know what got into me, but it was one of those things where the guys that I was, they just made the game easy.
Mm-hmm.
Just put in the effort and played simple, and I ended up having a really good camp. And so a lot of the guys were talking and messing with me, like, you got to come to our team, you got to come to our team. And most of the guys played in the MLS,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember Ben Olsen at the time pulled me aside, and he said he wanted to introduce me to his agent, Dan Siegel, and he ended up being my agent for my whole career. And he's a great guy,
That's
and
awesome.
I took a liking to Ben at the time, and trusted his word, and so I ended up signing with Dan. And then all of a sudden, all of these MLS teams were interested because I was the only guy from the A League at the time. They got kept with the full team, and they heard that I was having a good camp, and so I basically went from leaving school to like the next day to go to this camp, and then I ended up leaving basically. Well, they had to come to terms with Richmond Kickers because I still had a year on my contract, but basically left being a DC United player, and it all happened so fast and so crazy because at the time there was no real relationships between MLS and A League. A few years before,
Mm-hmm.
they would put guys back and forth,
Mm-hmm.
and give them playing time and stuff like that. But it has stopped around that time, and so I tell people all the time, if it wasn't for that strike, I don't know if I would have ever made it to MLS. And so that's a little bit of the story.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. And yeah, I mean, I went to a lot of those DC United games because I was in DC during that time. And, I was just kind of researching again, reminding myself of all the great players that you played with there. I mean, Bobby Boswell, Jaime Moreno, Josh Grosh, Santino Quaranta, Mike Petke, Aleko Eskandarian, Chris Pontius, Ben Olsen.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, that was a wrecking squad. Who were and maybe it was Ben Olsen, but like who were kind of some of the alphas on that team? Who were the real leaders? I'd love to. I mean, just the stories of the locker room of those times.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, for those that haven't spent time in I say a professional locker room because it's just so much more time together.
Hmm.
When we're in school, I mean, it's nothing like the locker room. It's the best ever. In school, everyone, okay, we got to go get back to classes. It's kind of a rush, but playing professionally, that's all we were doing. That was our job. So we would be there from 9 a.m. to 1 or 2 in the afternoon, almost every day.
Hmm.
We're traveling together, obviously playing a lot more games and stuff like that. So these guys become your really your family. You're with them all the time. When I first went, our coach was Peter Novak.
Yeah.
Peter, yep, and I loved Peter. Peter was he was I don't know. I played my best soccer under Peter. I'm a very, and especially my position, I played a defensive mid. Like
Yeah. The number
I
six.
rely on organization. I rely on guys working in front of me and taking in information and all being on the same page. I relied a lot on that in my position, and with the team that we had and the way Peter had us play, he just made it really easy, really simple. And he was the guy in the locker room. I mean, we
Hmm.
talk about the alphas. We had a Dima Kovalenko.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's foreign, and he definitely was a personality. Jaime always was,
Hmm.
but it's different. Jaime was like a level above everyone as far as skill and all of that.
He
So,
was
a
incredible.
lo- yeah, he was, and a lot of times that alpha that you need. It's hard to like. I mean, we all respected Jaime for sure, but he was just so much more skillful than everyone else that it
Hmm.
was. Yeah, it's kind of hard in those situations. But Demo was a very simple player, and he worked super hard, so he was kind of one of those guys. Yeah, and we my first season we had Freddie there, Freddie
Yeah.
Adu, and he was so young, and then some older guys that it was a good dynamic. We had some good balance. Most of those teams I played in with DC. And it was great. I mean, it's one of those things where our team was so good the first couple of years. We won Supporter Shield 2 years in a row. The year before I got there, they just won MLS Cup. So it was a good team. Freddie was on the team, so everywhere we went was like kind of mayhem. It was kind of like a super dumbed down version of like when Beckham came and Messi now, but it was kind of like that at the time with Freddie Adu on the team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, how'd you get along with Freddie? I always thought he was a great player. Obviously, we all know, maybe a little too soon. Obviously, poor guy, way too much hype on him for that
Hmm.
young. But I
Hmm.
mean, I always, whenever he did get a shot, I always felt like he had a pretty good chance. But was it just kind of a tough being that much younger than everyone, or
Well,
how
yeah,
was your experience with him?
I have a strong opinion on this. Freddie he was absolutely worth the hype. I mean,
Right?
I'll
Yeah.
never forget every day in training. I was just wow. He would do something in training every single day that I was like, there's no, he was really that good. He was really that talented. When under Peter, I thought Freddie was his best those first couple of years, and Peter did a good job of not giving Freddie too much too soon.
Hmm.
As far as playing time and exposure, and he stayed on Freddie's case. He kept him working.
Hmm.
Freddie obviously at the time wanted more. He wanted more playing time. He wanted more to be that guy. And we had guys like Lecco and Jaime and we had a great kind of at the time star-studded team. And Freddie just wasn't that guy. But Freddie, being young, that he felt like he deserved that. And I'm sure everyone in his corner around him thought the same thing. And so he wanted change. And when he left and he went to Salt Lake, I believe it was. I think everything started to go like he was just given everything he wanted, and then as we know, being older now, a lot of times that just isn't the best for young players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we all know how his career turned out, but Freddie, he really was worth. I mean, he really was. He lived up to that hype in training, and even in games when we played under Peter, he definitely did. Yeah.
Yeah, and you touched on it. You mentioned the name a little bit ago. That I mean, Eddie Pope. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
man, the guy. I mean, he started it all almost, and another amazing guy from our neck of the woods. And do you guys still keep in touch? And I mean, from what I read, I mean, did he kind of take you under his wing a little bit? I mean, was he a mentor figure to you in your career?
Just when we were together in the national team,
Mm-hmm.
we didn't talk too much after that. We see each other every now and then. And Eddie, if you don't know Eddie, he's a lot like I am, pretty quiet
Yeah,
and
yeah.
kind of keeps to himself. But he's awesome. He's awesome. You get him going, and very much super professional, very much about his business, um, and yeah, we're a lot alike in that way. But no, we didn't talk too much out, because at that time we began to be competitors in a
Sure.
way, because he was back in playing in MLS,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, so yeah,
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 he was very shy. I know. Yeah, really,
yeah,
really shy.
yeah.
But what a legend, and man, what I would give anything to get him on, just because I mean he was the guy. And anyway, but another just incredible part of your story is that the medical challenges that you've dealt with and have overcome, and went on to have a thriving career. It's just a really it's just a really cool story to the extent that you're comfortable sharing just kind of what happened with you and then how you prevailed over it and how it's led to what you're doing now, continuing
Yeah.
on that mission of constant health and helping others achieve that goal. I just think it's a really heartwarming story and really cool, and another reason why
Absolutely.
we're so proud of you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. So yeah, when I was young, we realized that I had a kidney issue. It wasn't fully diagnosed yet. We didn't do a biopsy or anything yet, but it was like 99.9% sure the doctors were that this is what it was. I didn't get a biopsy until I retired, or actually in between my 2 seasons with the Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
That's when we knew, but it ended up being exactly what we thought it was. And so it's FSGS, which is a super super rare kidney disease. It's so rare that they don't even do research on it to like kind of figure out how to like a cure for it, because it's just so rare. So we knew I had it when I was young. I can't remember the exact age, but well before college. And so what we had to do was basically just stay on top of it. We had to keep checking blood work, checking my levels, where's my kidney function. And so we just did that. There's no real symptoms. They call kidney disease a silent killer, because you can not have any symptoms at all until it's like kind of too late. You start having little stuff, but a lot of times it happens so slowly that you can't tell the difference.
Mm-hmm.
And so fortunately, I knew, and we knew what to look out for, and we just stayed on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
Really simple to see how well your kidneys are functioning with a simple blood test. And going to college, me being a young kid, I just it was like out of sight, out of mind, and
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of fear, because at the time I didn't know much about what I had going on.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until I came basically to Boston where I really, really started, educating myself on it, and really like diving in and figuring out. Other than that, I was just going to my appointments, doing what the doctors were telling me to do. But there were some dicey times where my function would drop and then it would come back up, especially a lot of painkillers like Advil, Aleve. They're
Mm-hmm.
really hard on your kidneys, especially if
Yeah.
you have something going on with your kidneys.
Mm-hmm.
There were times in my career when I played for DC where I was taking like Toradol shots to get to play through an injury or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. That was a time where I was really like one of the guys for DC, and one of the mainstays in the midfield. And and a lot of if I had to go back and do it again. I don't know. In the moment, it's like you want to do anything to play, and
Right.
at that time, it's your livelihood.
Mm-hmm.
this is how I'm making my money. And at that time, I was making good money for MLS in my second contract. But anytime I would go to the doctor to check my blood work and my kidney function after doing a Toradol shot, oh my gosh, it would drop way down, and then it would take like a good week to come back up to where it was.
Mm-hmm.
And slowly but surely, kidney function just dropping. And the only thing that I would feel, I just I needed more naps
Mm-hmm.
during the day, so I was more tired. And then whenever I got an injury, it took me just a little bit longer to recover.
Mm-hmm.
Or even just a tough day of training, I'd be more sore
Mm-hmm.
for longer than
Mm-hmm.
most guys. And so that was the extent of it. But
That's still pretty tough.
oh yeah, and I had a lot of doctors tell me, they're like, you won't realize how sick you are until you either start dialysis or get a transplant.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, I got it'll be 9 years this year in December, in another month or so, where I got my transplant.
Yeah.
And when I first got my transplant, I almost felt like I could have came back and played.
Oh wow.
It was just like, it was crazy the difference in how I felt. I no longer needed naps. That my energy level was like something I never felt in like since I was like a kid.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, it was pretty insane, and yeah, of course, it makes me wonder.
Like what could? Yeah. Like.
Yeah, what could have been if I had full function,
But still, I mean, you crushed it for like a decade. I mean, so it's amazing. It just adds even more like dimension to what you were able to accomplish. It's even
yeah,
more impressive.
yeah, and for me, being a kid at the time, like I was just put my head down and worked hard. That's all I did in my eyes. But yeah, I was very fortunate to play as long as I did. Towards the end of my when I retired, yes, one of the reasons was the turf toe, but the main reason was my kidney function as well. And I think the kidney function had gotten so low at that time, because now we're talking down to like 30%, 20s, 30%. Once you get to like 20%, you have to start dialysis. So I was going that route. But a big reason why, I think the turf toe was affecting me so much because my kidney function was so
Right.
low.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really interesting, man. Well, and then I read somewhere that like you were in one of your stays in the hospital. One of the doctors were like, had you not been so
Hmm.
fit from being a
Hmm.
professional soccer player, you might be in worse shape than you are. And
Oh
that
yeah.
kind of was the light bulb for you to be like, no, I want to make this, and I'm going to start my own business in the
Yeah.
cycling
Yeah.
and health. And is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I was in the hospital for something totally unrelated. It was like a stomach bug. They gave me antibiotic that I ended up being allergic to, and we didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know it was vancomycin, and they just kept giving it to me. We were trying to make the situation better, and it was just making the situation worse. My temperatures got up to like 105 point, like
Man.
yeah, it was up there. Well, actually, I think it was higher than that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry, but yeah, they say like 108, and you're basically done.
Wow.
And it was close. It was close, and I'll never forget. I was in my hospital bed, and my nurse is like crying, and then, but I feel completely fine, but they're just throwing ice on me in the room, and
Wow.
then realized something was going on, and then once I settled down, the doctor came in and said, the only reason why I think you, one, survived, and two, survived without brain damage is because you were so fit. Your body was so fit, and that was right after I basically retired from playing soccer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, at that time, we had already decided to do the studio, but that just
Put a
that
whole new
just like,
mission behind it.
oh yeah, 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 and it just goes to show you how important it is. Fitness had been my whole life
Mm-hmm.
by default.
Right. Yeah, you
Playing
can't.
soccer for a living, and I learned so many things from all my trainers and my strength and conditioning coaches and stuff like that. I was very fortunate, and then all that knowledge kind of carried over to what I do now. But yeah, it was a time. It was a time, and that was around the time we were starting the business, and then I had to start dialysis after that. A lot of changes at that time, and also being up here in Boston still. Most of my family's still in North Carolina and then DC as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was yeah, it was a time. It was a time for sure.
Well, and so That's amazing. And so I know you're so committed to the public health and training folks. I mean, how much soccer do you get to watch now? I mean, and what do you watch?
Well, that's the other thing. Yeah, I don't like. Okay, so I run it's a spin studio,
Hmm.
indoor cycling, and
Yep.
so we're busy.
Yeah.
I mean, me personally, I'm busy. I'm teaching. Sometimes of the year I'm teaching 13 classes a week,
Wow.
teaching is easier than taking. I'm on and off the bike when I'm teaching.
Right.
Now I'm down to like 5, which is great. But you know, and then just running the studios. We
Hmm.
were up to six locations at one point.
Wow.
Every Saturday, Sunday morning, I'm teaching, so I'm missing a lot of like EPL,
Hmm.
unfortunately.
Hmm.
I'll catch some replays when I can, and I'll catch games when I can. I have a 6-year-old son now.
Nice.
He's playing soccer now, so
Awesome.
I'm at his games on Saturday mornings.
Oh yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah, so that's what I'm watching. So for a good solid 3 years, like 3.5 years, I was basically like the voice for the radio for the Revolution,
Hmm.
for New England Revolution, and so we had our host Hardy, and I was like the soccer guy,
Hmm.
and he was the personality,
Hmm.
and so we had our own show. We would do pregame, halftime show, and postgame,
Nice.
and so we basically covered every single game, home and away.
Awesome.
Um, when Apple came in and took over MLS,
Hmm.
they kind of bumped everyone down. So I don't do full time anymore, but
Hmm.
I'll cover for Charlie a lot of times for play by play.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, done some TV games, and so that's a lot of fun. So I end up watching a lot of MLS.
Sure.
Yep, still, and the league's changed so much, as I'm sure you guys
Oh
have
yeah.
been watching, and yeah, but it's great to see.
Yeah.
It's great to see. I think MLS, they got to figure out, because if you look at the patterns, a lot of these new teams that they brought in are doing excellent stuff. I mean,
Hmm.
everything from the marketing to filling the stands
Hmm.
and everything. And then you see some of the older teams,
Yeah.
they're the ones that are struggling a bit. And so you got to. I mean, I know when a city gets a new team, it's a lot of energy, but they got to figure out how to keep that energy within the
Yeah.
team.
No, you're right.
Playing for DC for so long, when we used to have the best crowds and the
Yeah.
best atmosphere, to then over the years watching what's happened, and it's getting better again with the new stadium, but
Yeah.
all these other teams passing them, it was kind of sad to see, but yeah, it's overall great for the league. Great for the
Yeah.
league.
That's awesome. Well, this has been awesome, and this what a great story, and again, just so floored that you came on and joined. So we do this thing at the end of every episode called the rapid fire. If you read, we asked everyone the same thing, so we're just
All
diving in with
right.
that if that's cool with you. So
Yeah, yeah.
Messi or Ronaldo?
Oh man, you know what? I was always Ronaldo.
Hmm.
And is this like a one or the other? Do I have to get one or the
Yeah,
other? No explanation.
yeah. No, you can give that
Mine's
explanation.
changed. Mine's changed. Yeah. So I used to always be Ronaldo. I don't know what it was. I think I used to be Man U
Yeah,
fan,
me too.
and I think that's part of it. And then but over the years, it's kind of switched just to see to Messi. But yeah, both of them. Yeah, it's unbelievable. Both of them are done absolutely. But I'll say Messi now.
Yeah, I'm the same as you. I used to really, in fact, on an earlier episode, I say Ronaldo, but I feel like Messi kind of won me over with the MLS jump. I mean, it's
Hmm.
just like he chose us,
Yeah, he
and
did. He did.
so and I still love Ronaldo, but I mean that he definitely won a lot of American hearts and minds with that move.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
how about Messi or Maradona?
Or Maradona. I have to go Messi.
Yeah.
I don't remember too much of
Mhm.
Maradona, unfortunately, and like seeing some of Messi's, like when he was in his prime, is just like I feel like seeing nothing like it,
Yeah.
nothing like yeah,
That's
yeah,
right. It was. They used to say Ronaldo's the best player on earth, but Messi's the best player in the galaxy,
yeah,
in the universe.
yeah. And
Yeah.
there's a couple of times where I didn't watch too much La Liga when I was playing, and a couple of times I remember two goals specifically I was watching live. And he scored two of the more iconic goals that he scored. That one Getafe
Mhm.
goal, I remember
Oh,
watching live, and it was and to just be tuning in live for that brief moment and to catch it
mhm.
was just like it was
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
No, it's amazing. Or how about Ronaldo or Ronaldo? So Cristiano or Il Fenomeno?
Oh, I have to go. I have to go Brazilian Ronaldo.
Oh wow.
Brazilian Ronaldo. Yep, I have to. When back in the day, like I never remember. I mean, I never forget having the his shoes, the Nikes, growing up, and like those Brazilian teams, watching those teams play, and watching him play was like when I was a kid. It was just like I don't think anything could surpass that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
his peak was pretty tough.
Oh
Only
yeah.
challenge with him is it just. I mean, it was a great long career, and he had so many trophies. But I guess Cristiano's sort of. I don't know if he's on the juice or what, but he's got. So this one's probably near and dear because you probably know both these guys pretty well. But Donovan or Dempsey?
Oh yeah. So uh, I know Clint a little bit more. So Clint was the that TST team.
Yeah.
He invited me to come play on his team
Hmm.
So I know Clint a little better, but I'm gonna say because of Clint's kind of like willingness to go and apply his trade overseas and fight for what he did. I love him for that, but I also love Landon for like the wanting to grow the sport here.
Hmm.
People say it's easier for him or he's more comfortable, but either way, I mean, both of them have done so much for the sport. But if I had to pick one, just because we're a little bit closer, I'd say Clint.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's kind of our neck of the woods guy, and
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But again, both those guys are heroes of
Yes,
all of ours.
absolutely.
Who's the best player you ever played with or against?
With or against? That's a good question. So I was fortunate in DC. We went through a phase where we were pulling in some like really good number 10s, and I for those years I was the D mid, so I did all the dirty work for them.
Yeah,
Yep, and Marcelo Gallardo, I'll never
yeah,
forget.
yeah.
Like he dealt with some injuries when he was with us, but when he played, it was like he walks in the door and he's this tiny human, and you would not it doesn't look athletic at all, but just like the one of the smoothest players that I've ever played with. Some of the goals he scored, the way he used his body, and it was like seamless for him. It was wild to see. You could play on the ball anyway. I probably had the most success with Christian Gomez.
Hmm.
Yeah, but then I'm trying to think. I wish I would have thought about this before. Yeah, but I was very fortunate to play with some really good players. In DC, and I'll say that was a player I played against. I mean, I got to play in some of these friendlies. I got to play against. We played against that prime Chelsea team
Hmm.
when Jose just took over the team. We played against them in oh 05
Wow.
in '05 when he first came to the team, and they were just everyone like Drogba, that team,
Yeah.
Terry, Lampard,
Hmm.
Cole was there. Yeah, they were just unbelievable.
I think I was
I got
at
to
that
play.
game, as a matter of fact.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I got to play against the Galacticos, Real Madrid. We
Oh
we played
wow.
them, yeah, in Seattle. And it was weird. It was just like I think it was '06. It might have been '05. No, it was '05 as well. They um they just were coming over, and I never forget. I think because DC at the time we were like one of the better teams, and they just picked us to go play them on a random Wednesday night. And it was like last minute, and we flew out to Seattle and played them, and it was crazy. Then I got to play against another Real Madrid team with Cristiano and Kaká and Benzema and all of them back in like '09.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's when like Robin was on the team and. Who else is on there? Like Xavi Alonso, all those guys. I got to play against AC Milan,
Wow.
Ronaldinho, Seedorf.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, that was an awesome experience. And we got to play some other really good teams. Celtic, Ajax 1 year, Everton when they were a bit better. They came over. We played against them. I'm trying to think.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
amazing. I think you
yeah, it was
just
great.
named like 10 of the top 30 players of all time.
Oh yeah. We were fortunate to play against them in those friendlies. Absolutely.
That's amazing. It's cool you mentioned Gallardo too, because I did an episode a couple hours ago on
Mm-hmm.
top 10 global academies in the world, and we did a little segment on River Plate.
Perfect.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so we mentioned him. So
Yeah,
that's cool that you
it's
mentioned him.
so funny. I had no idea he was coaching, and I just saw it on. It came across on Instagram one day, and I sent it to our other buddy, Mark Birch, that we used to play against, and we used to
Hmm.
both of us used to just talk about how great Marcelo was, and but it makes sense. I mean, I feel like he disagreed with everything Coach said, but not in like a just like attitude type way.
Hmm.
Like we really felt like he knew what he was doing, and the things that he's done if ever played. Yeah, it's great to see.
Awesome. All right, so now's the big one. Name your perfect 11 if you can,
My perfect 11. Okay,
combining any team, any era.
okay. This is based off of them being in their prime,
Hmm.
obviously, and yeah, and then my personal opinion. So, you want me to start up top, or you want me to start in goal?
Starting goal.
In goal, okay. All right, that's my one nod to U.S. Soccer, Tim Howard.
Sure.
He's in my goal. Right back, I'll go Danny Alves.
Okay.
Two center backs, Maldini and Vidic.
Nice. Oh,
Gotta go
Vidic.
Vidic.
Nice
And
one.
then left side, Roberto Carlos.
Nice.
So that's my back four. I want to play a 4-3-3. I got Claude Makalele
Nice.
as the D mid.
It's kind of a similar type player to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to hear that. I used to hear that back in the day. When I was younger, I could run a ton. And then I might be surprised. My two in front of him, Ronaldinho and Pogba. I'm
Oh,
going
I love
Pogba.
I love the Pogba. Yeah.
I do too. I do too. I think. Oh my God! I hate that
I know we
he's
got
had.
to get him back into yeah.
Yeah, but his prime.
Oh
I mean, it's
man.
like the perfect midfielder.
I know.
Like
Unreal.
yeah.
Unreal.
And then up top, I got to go Cristiano
Hmm.
and Messi on the other side, and then Ronaldo up top.
Nice.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, that's my
Amazing.
that's my 11. Yeah.
And you got a favorite jersey of all time?
Favorite jersey? I'm gonna have to say, oh, like the look of one.
Yeah.
Oh, the look of one. Okay.
Or one you wore, whatever you want.
Yeah, I was gonna say the one that I wore and own is from my national team cap.
Nice.
Yeah, my one cap. And we played against England, which was crazy. That's my one cap.
Wow.
And so that jersey that I own, that's my favorite. And
Nice.
I like the look of that one. That was the Nike one right before the '06 World Cup.
Hmm.
I love that. It had like the block on the back.
Hmm.
Let's see. These days though, it's so tough. I feel like teams have like four jerseys
I
these days.
know. Yeah. Which I love it, but it's a
Yeah.
lot to keep track of. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is. It is, and I'm sure they make a lot of money having so many different
Yeah.
options. This is tough. This is tough. I mean, I always love the fact that Real Madrid wears all white all the time,
Yeah.
and people just allow it. That's pretty. Yeah, I like that. I like that, and they always keep a classic uniform. I love that. And there's some good ones out there, but if I had to go with a brand, I don't know. I love what Nike does. I think I'm just like brand loyalty to Nike, and yeah, I had to go with that.
I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a good one. It's funny. Eddie Robinson, I had him on because we played at Page together, and he said
Oh yeah,
same as you. He said
yeah,
Real
yeah,
Madrid all white. And then I
yeah.
messaged you this one if you thought it. It's sort of a wild one, but it's funny
Uh-huh.
and fun. If you were to describe your personal playing style to a
Okay,
band or artist, who would it
okay.
be?
That's a good one. Yes, you gave me a heads up on this, and I thought about it. So you know the band Interpol?
Oh yeah,
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 yeah. So that's one of my favorite bands. I'm gonna say Interpol, and the reason why
nice.
is um, their sound is kind of like it's like even kill, but they have their moments, right?
Yeah,
And they have their moments where there's a build or it's an exciting moment, but they're like few and far in between. But they're steady, and like every song is pretty consistent, and like I think that every song is pretty good.
and
I'm gonna say
it's very you. I would agree with that because they're fundamentally sound and
yes,
clinically clean.
they are. Yes,
But then they can rip it if they need to. But they're
yeah,
pretty. It's
yeah,
like yeah.
yeah.
So I would agree.
Yeah.
That's a killer choice, man. I love it. Well, Clyde, thank you so much, man. I owe you big time, and
Oh nah.
I'll let Scott Dunnigan down softly that he wasn't the best player you ever
You
played
got
with.
it.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
tough to
yeah.
compete with Kaká and Ronaldinho, but
yeah. You got to tell Scott I said hello. You got to give him my number for me.
I will.
Yeah, I miss Scott.
Yeah, man. He's and Graham Pettigrew, an honorable mention as well.
Yeah. You used to talk to Graham?
No, I hadn't seen him forever, but we used to
Yeah.
hang out a lot. You know, he went to Grimsley and I went to
Yeah.
Page, so we were all,
Yeah.
we.
I know he's tight with Scott.
We've shared some beers.
Yeah.
But as I have with Hesmer, all great guys. But hey, man, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I'm super flattered that you came on, and just thank you so much. And I hope you're well.
Anytime, man.
Okay, thanks, bud.
Yeah.
See you, man.
All right, Zach. See ya.
See ya.